You're very welcome to episode 15 of the League of Ireland Women's podcast here on finalwhistle.ie with myself, Breifne, Eearley, and of course, as always, almost always, Aaron Clarke. Aaron,
we have not done 15 episodes this year.
We have. It's crazy, but we have done 15 episodes. You don't find them ticking up. You actually told me, I don't know if I'm going to spoil this now for later, but you actually told me you've been counting, and this is your 98th as co-host.
98 as co-host, 99th appearance on Final Whistle.
I think it's our 125 overall. So you've been here for most of it. Fair play.
It's mad, like, because it's mad, like when you just say 15. Because even when I was counting today, I was like, I haven't done that many this year. Like, because you think about it, when you add in internationals, you add in start of the season when there's been no league games. Like, it's racking up, and like we've only played what. Most teams have played 9 games this season. Some have played 10. Like, still a lot of football to go.
Absolutely. Of course, 15 weeks is only 4 months, really. So if you work it back, we've done one every week, even when there hasn't been necessarily games on weekends. That being said, we're talking about loads of stuff happening. It was a pretty quiet weekend in the league after all the build-up last week. Before we get into the football side of things, unfortunately we're back, and you might just pass our respects. News just brought to my attention as we prepare to go live for this, but unfortunately we're back. Sending our condolences to another player in the league, and again, unfortunately, it's in Shelbourne. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, Noel Murray's father, Alan, has unfortunately passed away. It's been a hard couple of weeks for Shelbourne. First, Aoibhinn Clancy lost her mother recently, and Noel Murray. Then today, Shelbourne announced her father's passed away. Considering the way Noel has been the last season or so, probably playing the best football of her life. It's a sad time, especially somebody who's enjoying that. I don't want to say twilight stage of their career, but somebody who's definitely shown that they still belong to be there, and we send our condolences to Noel especially at this hard time.
Absolutely, as always, some things are more serious than football, and our heart goes out to everybody involved in the Murray family and to everyone at Shells, and hopefully it passes off as well as possible in those very, very sad circumstances. However, there was no game in Talca Park last weekend after all the build up to Shells and Athlone and a kind of early title indicator. The weather got involved and basically called off nearly everything in Dublin last week. I was in the capital, was up for the Leitrim Dublin ladies football match, which we'll talk about later because Murn Devaney was involved in that and ended up playing in Bray an hour or so later. Derval Byrne also on the bench for Leitrim in that game, or at least named on the bench, obviously of Peamount fame. But yeah, it's been an interesting week. That game got called off. Was thinking of going to Shells. You told me that was called off. Ended up going to the Leinster Rugby, the URC final. Great game. Leinster completely dominated. And unfortunately for my nephew, he got papped going in wearing a Leinster. He's a Connacht fan. He's from Connacht. He's played for Connacht underage. And he got papped going in by Sportsfile, and he was all over the RT website as captioned as a Leinster fan. So he wasn't overly happy to be. He got a lot of stick about that from his rugby club down in Sligo. So yeah, plenty of
whoever that Sportsfile photographer was. Congratulations, well done. Next time, if we ever see a game, you have to buy a beer.
He was told specifically, "I'm not a Leinster fan. I'm just wearing the flag to keep the rain off." Because Matthew's actually on crutches, so he ended up having to put something over his head. He couldn't hold an umbrella or whatever, and he just got papped at the really, really wrong time going into Croke Park. Anyway, all that's basically to say that the games were all called off. Everything in Dublin got called off. Peamount's game that fell by the wayside against Bohemians. Shamrock Rovers, they were due to play Waterford. That game got called off as well. And Shells and Athlone, of course. But
the interesting though, just on the games that were called off, and the sad part is the build-up we'd started giving to Shells and Athlone because of what it is. Talca Park is sort of the venue that is the least likely normally to be called off, especially with the river behind it. But I'd seen a video that was sent out Saturday afternoon, not long after the game was called off. And I sort of liked a couple of lads. I was like, yeah, good decision. Call it early. You could see how bad it was. Like, and that's what I'd even got concerns when I woke up Saturday morning and I was like, hasn't stopped raining all night, and it wasn't even just that it was light rain. Like even Peamount normally tends to be quite playable a lot of the time, and like Shamrock Rovers state of the art stadium. It was just one of them weekends. Your only concern for me, Breifne, is when I look at the league table and I look at I look at teams games played. Like you're looking at Shells, Galway, Athlone, Peamount have 2, Woes have 2, Waterford have 2. There's a lot of games that need to be rescheduled in this league that have been called off this season, and the question is going to be where are they going to be put in, because there's no doubt that we're going to end up with some midweek games. It's probably not going to be avoidable unless there's a couple of big upsets in cup competition soon. But like, it's where do you fit them games is my only concern. And I'm going to say one thing in terms of the FAI, in terms of the situation. I thought the FAI might have handled the fixture congestion a little bit better in the sense of the games that were called off earlier in the season.
Yeah.
There was probably opportunities to get some of them gone out of the way already instead of having another set linger on top of them and an even more difficult fixture headache.
Well, particularly, I think that Peamount Galway game that didn't get played earlier in the year, like that's now maybe 3 months running in terms of not being refixed. It's not like the FAI, to be fair, or the League of Ireland, to be more specific. But now Peamount 2 games behind, Bohemians 2 games behind, Waterford 2 games behind. It just doesn't give the right feel when you look at a league table and see teams with maybe 2 games in hand, like Peamount, 13 points. They're in 7th place. If they won one of those games, they're up in
22nd of March.
Yeah, they're up in 4th place if they win one of those games. They're in 3rd if they win both of those games. So it just gives a very misleading look to the league table in terms of maybe us looking at the table going, oh, Peamount having an off season, when in reality they're probably not that far off 3rd or definitely 4th place in the table as it stands at the moment. Let's talk about the games that did happen, because there was 12 goals across the league, plenty of discussion, couple of dubious decisions, a couple of penalty calls that were given, a couple of penalty calls that weren't given. There's a goal from Isabella Flacchini we're going to talk about as well. That was it over the line? It was definitely given, so that's all that matters. But we're a little bit skeptical about whether it was kind of inconclusive. When you look at the video, you really can't tell. So if we can't tell looking at replays, even from a bad angle, you kind of have to give the linesman and the referee the benefit of the doubt.
My only thing on that one is it was very quickly given. Now, the other thing I would say is if the two of them are, and I would hope they are, and I think they probably would have been mic'd up, so they would have been able to talk to each other to say, yes, I think it's over the line, because it was quite given. There was no discussion between them. It was quick. Yeah, it's a goal. Gone, given. The funny part is the commentators were sort of a little bit surprised even in itself that it was given. Yeah. But I think you got to give Flacchini a bit of credit, the way she takes the ball from the throw in and sort of cuts inside and makes that bit of space for herself. And that's sort of what she's shown us, her ability of just to find that yard or two of space to give herself that opportunity, because she made the chance and she took the opportunity on. And but I think when you review this game, I think from a treaty viewpoint, I think the biggest concern or biggest disappointment is probably how quickly they went behind and how quickly they were caught out to go 1-0 down to the Leah McGrath goal for Waterford. And like,
let's start with that game. Let's start because obviously they're 1-0 down after 1 or 1.5 minutes. It's a nightmare start. But Treaty looked at 6s and 7s in that opening 2 minutes. Like they did not defend that well at all.
No, and they were so. It was literally a minute and 3 seconds the ball hits the net, and even when they are defending for that goal, they're so compact together that there's 5 of the players in and around the area. 4 of them are together, and there's 1 slightly away, and like it sort of left it a bit easy for McGrath once that pass is played. But we've given Treaty a lot of credit in terms of how they've been going forward, but we've seen a little bit of that defensive frailty sort of coming in over the last month, 6 weeks. Like you look at the games where they can see, like even when they played Shelbourne and some of the other home games that they've had at home, they don't tend to be necessarily as strong. Glentoran, defensively, they were poor against Glentoran. Like it's just creeping into their game, and I think it's making the attack side maybe sort of having to work a little bit harder because of the defensive errors. And it's like some of the goals for me.
They were missing their 2 regular centre halves at the weekend, to be fair. Both Mara and Anna Rocket Mara McCrory I'm not sure how I'm going to get her name wrong now, but they
She
were
she was on the bench.
Yeah, and Anna Rocco, I think, was on commentary. So when you've got that situation, you're missing those players against a team like Galway. They're going to punish you.
The Wexford, yeah.
Yeah. So like you got players like Molloy and Kylie Murphy with 2 goals laid on. Like they're going to punish you, and they did. But that was the difference. Treaty had chances. Treaty could have won this game comfortably. Like Treaty could have won this game 2 or 3-1 as well, based on the chances they had. Fulcini had a chance. Madeline Robbins had a chance. One-on-one with the keeper, and to be fair, Maria Sullivan pulled off some unbelievably good saves. Now they're you'd expect her to make them, but she still did have to make them.
Yeah, I've seen Patra. He sort of championing her a bit when local news outlets have been sort of speaking to the Wexford media and the team in the build up to the games, and she's definitely come in there this season and added an awful lot of value to them. The one thing I would say, just on the Treaty viewpoint, is creating them chances and not taking them is probably very disappointing. And then you can see the 2 goals they conceded at the end, the 2 headers from Kylie Murphy. Like the first one, she's just allowed a space, and the second one, she just loops it over the keeper's head. I don't necessarily blame the keeper in them situations. It's more defensively, but like for Treaty, it's a case of they've shown so much this year, and maybe that's why I'm a little bit more critical of them, is because of what they have shown and what they have given us in certain games to maybe where we used to sort of seeing Treaty in previous years. And like it's a case of us saying this when we're saying, okay, they weren't great, they were poor defensively, or we're giving criticizing something slightly. It's because they've shown, the improvements that they've made. If they want to be, if they're looking to be pushing up the table, can they finish in the top 4, top 5? You know, these are the sort of things that they're going to have to cut out. Like if you look at the last 5 league games with Treaty, they've only won 1 of the last 5 league games. They've lost 4 of them.
Yeah, mind you, it was Galway away, which is respectable, but yeah, it's been a while. The 2 wins over Sligo and Cork back in early April, late March, and they've only had 1 win since then. So that early season form has dipped a little bit. I think there was also some commentary online. I saw some comments on YouTube, on the FEI's YouTube, about why the investment in the women's game, that there was less than 100 people at the match, 50 or 60 people at the game, and
60 people. Yeah, I see that.
There's a little bit of.
Well, do you know what's funny? Do you know what's funny? The actual official attendance was 206.
Well, again, which do you believe? I probably say it's somewhere in the middle. There's the truth is somewhere between the 2 numbers, but even 206, is that good enough? And I'm not trying to criticize what's going on in Treaty. I like a lot of the things they're doing very, very well down there, but do they need to be seeing more numbers at games to justify the expense that's going into the team at the moment?
Okay, so I'll flip that question slightly. Okay, and I'm just gonna pick a random Shelbourne game. So let's look at Shelbourne's game against. So look, who did they play at home this year? Let's go Peamount. Shelbourne versus Peamount, right?
Okay.
Massive game. 330 people.
Yeah.
The attendances across the board for the women's game are not where they need, are not where where they should be. Like that's the problem in a sense of, and I don't think it's but it's an investment. Like Shells and Bows and Shells as well. Like sometimes you'll get 800 out of, sometimes you'll get 400 out of. I just think women's football in Ireland in terms of attendance is fickle across the board. And I don't think it's a case of, yes, I understand where the question is coming from in terms of the investment in Treaty, but does it, like, we're only seeing a lot of the investment in Treaty because it's public, because Ciara's come in, what she's done. But like, you look at some of the other clubs, there's no doubt about it that the likes of Shamrock Rovers, probably Bohemians, other clubs, Shelbourne, are investing more money or as similar budgets into their women's team, but because their men's team are seen as the big foe, who probably have budgets 5, 6, 7 times
more than
maybe
that,
more than the women, maybe 20 times more than the women have. But it's because Treaty operate off a lower budget. The comparisons are there because the men and the women are getting something similar.
It's probably equal, yeah.
Like it's more of a case of Treaty's finances across the board rather than a case of I understand where the criticism and the concern comes from when it comes to the fans, especially the men's side of thing. I understand that and I get it. And the problem is no matter what, whether Kira was to go in double the expenditure of the men's team, you'd still have complaints, you'd still have concerns. Like Treaty are fourth in the first division, competing against teams like Dundalk, Bray Wanderers, established teams who've had lots of success in Premier divisions. So it's always going to be a difficult conversation, no matter what money they put in. But the good thing is, and we've mentioned their names so often, the likes of Madison McGrath, the likes of Cara Griffins, these young players who are homegrown, local players, these are going to be the backbone of the likes of Treaty going forward. And players that are coming through their academy, the Grace McInerney's, these sort of players are going to have a massive impact on the club going forward, where they won't be as reliant on foreign-based players coming in and doing and helping and supporting. Yes, at the minute they are, but I don't think they will be as time goes on.
Let's talk about Madison McGrath for a minute, because she won the Under-17 International Player of the Year, followed up less than a week later with the League of Ireland Women's Premier Division Player of the Month, youngest player ever to win that award. She has been stunning us all season. We've been talking about her on the show a good bit this year. I was really impressed with her at the weekend. Yeah, they got beat 4-1 by Wexford, but there was one stage, a ball played out the right-hand side, and McGrath, who's, remember, just 15 or maybe just 16, she's about to turn 16, and Becky Casson, who's an established player in the league, and McGrath hits her with a shoulder, and she doesn't quite knock her over, but definitely wins the physical battle. And say a 15-year-old is doing that against an established girl in her mid-20s who's had experience in various leagues up and down across the continent in terms of Spain and with Cork and with Wexford itself, like, that's hugely impressive to see a 15-year-old with the guts to do it, and B, then to execute it perfectly, win the possession on the edge of the opposition box. So can Treaty hold on to her is the next question. Like, and what should they be doing in terms of, because she's obviously still in school, she might even be in junior cert at the moment. Do you know what I mean? I'm not quite sure what grade she's in terms of year in school, but she's definitely not past transition year. So, like, what's her future like? Because she reminds me of an Ella Molloy, she reminds me of an Emily Whelan, these girls who all went abroad. Like, where does she sit in the future of Treaty realistically in terms of how long they can hold on to her?
Well, the good thing is she's going nowhere in terms of leaving Ireland anytime soon, with the fact that you now have to be 18 to go abroad. So
I don't think she goes anywhere in Ireland. I don't think she leaves Treaty. I think she's too important to them. I think she seems happy down there. It's going well for her. I think I'm purely talking about abroad. So they've got a 2-year window minimum before that happens.
Yeah. And then it's a case of, can they offer something? Is there, the thing about it is some players it works for, other players it doesn't necessarily work for. Like Ella Molloy, there was a lot of obviously factors that it didn't necessarily work with Sheffield United, and she came back quick enough. Like Emily Whelan, another one that you said, gone very young, it's worked out okay for her in Scotland. She still seems to be liking it there. But like, I think with McGrath, I think this new younger type player, because they're bursting on earlier, like, there's no doubt she's going to have an awful lot of improvement over the next couple of years and continue to grow. Like, I think realistically, I would expect Treaty to sort of build that team around her over the next couple of years. And I'm gonna throw you on the spot here a little bit,
okay?
Because you love talking about these two players. Like, for me, I think it's a straight shootout at the minute between Bella Flacchini and Madison McGrath for Treaty United's Player of the Year at this stage.
It's tough. That's a tough one.
I won't ask you to pick.
I think if you picked it in the first half of the season, you'd probably have to say Flacchini. But I think as we watch Madison grow, I just checked it out. She doesn't turn 16 until the middle of August. So she's another, 2 months before she even turns 16. She's doing the junior cert at the moment, and she's pulling this out while sitting state exams. Like, it's absolutely phenomenal what she's doing. But then I suppose when you're 15 or 16, nothing frightens you. Do you know what I mean? You don't.
I'm gonna make a statement. I'm going to make a statement here that's probably going to get me in trouble. She's one of the top 3 young players at her age that I've ever seen come and make an impact in this league at her age.
I'd say, well, who's made a bigger impact at her age? Ella Molloy, maybe?
Ella Molloy and Leanne Kiernan stand out to me at the impacts they made when they first hit the ground running. But she is right up there with players like that of that sort of impact when they first come into senior football, and that's how highly I regard McGrath.
Yeah, no, she's a top talent, absolutely. Regards who wins the Player of the Year, there's still plenty of time left in the season. They've only played how many games? 10 games, so not even half the games played yet. They're still, I think, in the Avenir Sports Cup. Am I right in saying that?
They've Shelburne.
Oh yeah, okay. So that might be a short-lived experience if form is anything to go by. But at the same time, we didn't expect them to get to this stage. They beat Athlone to get to here. There's no reason why they can't beat Shells as well. So like Treaty is a different proposition than it's been for the last 3 or 4 years, and it's exciting to see what's going on there. And I think those two you mentioned, the likes of Madison McGrath, Grace McInerney, and even Katie Lawley, the local girls coming through have changed, I think, the mindset of young players and parents in the region looking at Treaty and saying, not really where I want my daughter to go. I think that now is probably an option for people in the Midwest region, which is great. So, and it's what it should be automatically, but it's great to see Treaty back in that conversation.
So what did they have? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Irish-based starters in their team, and everybody bar 2 of the subs were Irish-based. So that in itself just shows the depth, and they're not necessarily as reliant on players coming from abroad now. And I think that's where the youngsters are taking over, and it's exciting. And the great thing is we're not talking about Treaty, how many goals are they going to concede this week, or what are they going to concede this week. We're talking about Treaty going into games where we're saying, okay, can Treaty get a result? Like if you look at the goals against, yes, they've conceded more than the likes of Shamrock Rovers, Galway, Wexfords, the teams around them, but they're scoring a lot more goals than they would have in previous years as well.
Yeah, 5th highest scorers in the league, one more than Shamrock Rovers this season. That being said, we have to remind ourselves they got beat 4-1 at the weekend. It was all about Wexford, and
but that's the difference between.
We can talk about the youngsters all we want, but it was still Kylie Murphy that popped up with the goal scoring winners, and she's not going to be winning a Young Player of the Year award this year. We're not going to go into detail, but she's been around a while. But she's still
it's a second and a third league goal in the season.
Yeah, but she's still able to dominate games, and she's. I didn't expect to see much of her in the league this year. I know we've watched a couple of experienced players from Wexford kind of step away. Nicola Sinnott stepped away at the start of this season, or just before the start of this season. She kind of announced her retirement. Edel stepped away, I think 12 months ago. Edel Kennedy. So we've seen that era of players begin to step away, and even just on a social basis, it's very hard when you're the last one left to step away, or to kind of go into that dressing room with 16, 17, 18-year-olds when you're maybe double that, or maybe a bit more than double that. So that's kind of difficult. I'm surprised to see Kylie so involved, but she lives, breathes, dies Wexford.
I don't want to get in trouble saying this, right? But take Kylie Murphy. It's obviously she's the oldest player in the Wexford team. They've no other player who played last weekend over 30 who started that game for them. And they have a lot of young kids. Like you look at Cromack, the Mange, Ella Molloy, Leah McGrath, Aoife Kelly, like even Della Doherty. They have a lot of young players there. And that's the difference. And I think the other side of it is they've also got a coach who wants to play football the right way, and wants to win and wants to sort of prove himself again, that having won the league with Raheny United all them years ago, that he can do it with another team. Like, because Bows was good for them, but it wasn't maybe the success that he would have wanted. Whereas I think when you look at that coach and take it, I think Sean Bourne wants to prove that he can do it again, and he can do it with a different team. And like, there's no doubt about it. They had a bit of a rocky start, but they've won 4 of the last 5 league games. The only teams who are in better form than Wexford right now is Shelburne and Athlone, and Wexford's defeat actually came against Shelburne in the league.
Yeah, let's move on to another game, because we haven't even mentioned the fact that DLR picked up their first win of the season on the show at all. We're 25 minutes in, and that little nugget is only getting dropped now. The game got moved out to the Carlisle grounds, probably a blessing in disguise in the end because of the weather. So, game was played on a all-weather surface.
Just so people are aware, it wasn't moved because of the weather. It was moved previous due to other commitments that were happening in UCD prior to. So it's something that was sort of on the cards for a while. But in fairness to them, like the first half against Athlone when they played out there, I thought they were okay. Second half, they sort of fell apart. But they were decent against Sligo. Sligo did have chances. I thought it was a nice finish for the Waves goal. Like I said last week on the show, I didn't think they'd get something out of the game. I thought Sligo would be too strong for them. But
let's describe the goal, because the goal for me was one of my favorite goals of the last couple of weeks. An absolute dead rubber of a pass out on the far touchline, and Michelle Doonan puts in a huge effort to get there, nips in ahead of Lauren Devaney just to sneak it past her, gets a cross in. Nima Ngasi should have scored. I think was trying to score, miskicks it, and it ends up at the foot of the substitute that just came on. Amber Cullen had just come on a minute earlier.
That's an interesting one.
Did not make it past that. She was trying to shoot and miskicked it.
I'm literally just watching it back now. Yeah. But you got to give Cullen a serious amount of credit for keeping that run going and sort of getting to the back post there, because if she sort of gives up saying Ngasi's going to put that in the net, she sort of stops and doesn't do anything, but she keeps going, and all the way to the end. And if I'm not mistaken, I thought I seen DLR Waves say the other day that was potentially her first senior goal as well.
I think it is. Yeah. She's only a kid. She doesn't even come up on FAI Connected. She's that young. She won't do one.
Amber Cullen. So the FAI have it captioned perfectly. Scores with her first touch.
Yeah, no, she did really, really well. Now, I wasn't going to get to this early in the analysis, but how lucky was she not to concede a penalty late on, because Katie Melly made a good run down the left-hand side. Ball's played out to her. She cuts into the box and crosses with the outside of the right foot. A decent cross. She hits the ground. Absolute stonewall penalty, in my opinion. But on the other side of the ball, at the receiving end, Muireann Devaney ends up on the ground and quite obviously got a bit of a push there. I would guess from, I think, Chloe McCarthy. It just looked like she got a push, because Muireann Devaney is not the type to hit the ground that easily. You need a fair.
What if I turn around and say to you, I'm watching it back and it's not a penalty?
It's absolutely stonewall penalty. It's a penalty.
I'll be out straight with you. I've literally watched it while you've been talking about it for the last 30 seconds or so. I probably watched the actual tackle about 5-6 times. It's just clumsy for me.
It's clumsy. It's not. Now, she's young. Fair enough. These things happen. She got away with it, though. She'll be thankful she got away with it. But I think Sligo will be very hard done by. That being said, I'm delighted for DLR that they've got off the mark. But last week, you predicted Sligo to be in 9th place after this round's games. All the other games kind of went as expected. But Sligo, they let you down.
Yeah, and the thing about it is they had chances. Yeah. They had chances in the game. For Sligo had chances in the game. They just didn't take them. The early efforts where they did the header, and then it was a good save by Badan. Like, they had got chances in the game. And the thing at this level is when you're playing against a team who's sort of in and around your environment, and you have to take chances. Should Sligo have got something out of the game? Probably could have got something out of the game. Are DLR Waves decent enough value for the win? Yeah, I actually also enjoyed listening to Graham Kelly and Regila Eskenaidi at times on commentary. You could see the two of them are only getting used to having to do these sort of things, and I thought the two of them come across quite well. It's great to see Graham sort of stepping back in to help DLR Waves with the commentary when with his involvement with Bray Wanderers, just showing that he still has that passion for the women's game. The only thing I will say on this game, and the biggest thing for me is, it now stops us talking about will DLR Waves go winless for the season, because that is the most infuriating. We have to talk about it, but it's the most infuriating thing. Talking about, saying, is the team going to go winless? Because we had it with Sligo Rovers last year, and it's probably frustrating on the clubs because we're saying it, but we have to say it. Yeah. But the weight and the lift that would have given Waves that win is massive. And the thing about it is you can see that the likes of the players hadn't necessarily given up on what they've been trying to do. Like, you also have to realize Abby Brophy wasn't available from either. Abby Brophy competing in the High Rocks World Championships in, I think it was Chicago, representing Ireland. And we've talked about how they can't necessarily be missing players. Like, you're looking at Nadine Clare didn't start for them. Players who probably started a lot of games didn't necessarily start. And I think Laura's she's had to make changes, and she's been willing to make changes where it's had to happen. like there's no doubt it's probably been the most challenging time of her managerial career, this run. But hopefully this will actually now give them the opportunity to sort of kick on. I am going to put a bit of a downer on it as much as I don't want to. The run of next 3 games are not very nice in terms of even the next 4 or 5 games aren't very nice with Wexford, Peamount, Shamrock Rovers, Bows, Treaty. But the thing about it is they've taken points off all of these clubs before.
Yeah,
they know they can do it, but it's just going to take Waves to be at a 10 out of 10 performance to get a result. Massive confidence booster, massive lift for the club. Yes, I predicted they wouldn't win last week. They love making me eat humble pie. And you know what? I'm delighted for them to see them get the first win this season.
Me too. I think the important performances for me in terms of individuals, if we had to pick out 1 or 2 people, I thought Michelle Doonan was immense. Again, absolutely offside for the first opportunity she had in the first half. There's no way she covered that. She's quick, but she didn't cover that ground that quick. I think the linesman made a bit of a boo-boo there, but she was right out in the sideline, almost beside the linesman. He wouldn't have had a good view of that at all. Needless, she finished what she had a good effort, but I thought, and this is the second player I was impressed with, thought the goalkeeper, Bonnie McKiernan, made 1 or 2 really good saves, but I thought Eve Badana had her best game of the season on Saturday as well. She pulled off 1 or 2 really good stops, particularly in the first half from, I think Kaya McKenna had a touch, again, probably offside from what I could see on the, unless the trailing defender was still out of the corner flag from the cross, but she looked to be miles offside on the camera view I had, because you obviously don't see the corner where the ball came from. But Katie Melly probably should be getting that the header on target. It goes left, but ends up at McKenna's feet, and she gets a foot to it. But Badana pulls off a really good point blank save. But I thought she had a really, really good game, and she probably underperformed by her own high standards this year. So she'll be happy with that.
And I've been critical of her a couple of times in terms of aspects of her game, and I think it was important. But the other side of it for me, I thought DLR Waves defended better in the game as well. I thought defensively they were better. Like, you look at some of the goals they've conceded in recent weeks, they've just been nearly gifting the ball to the opposition. I thought they were better defensively as well. And I think for them, everything's going to start from back to front. That's where it needs to be for them to get results. Defense have to be on their game. And listen, it was a good result for them. It's one on the board. The question is how do they go and make sure that they follow that performance up, even if they don't get a result against Wexford, that they actually just put in a performance that, you know, it says, okay, we built on last week.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go on to the last game of the weekend that did survive the weather, and that, of course, was the visit of Galway United. The visit of Galway United down to Cork.
We're about to say Galway WFC.
I wasn't quite sure where I was going. There were so many games on and off. Cork City, great first half, I felt, but then Galway just kind of took control of the game into the second half. Some great long distance finishes. Aislinn Meaney hit a great one in injury time to seal the win. Jody Griffin had a
Mullen with the
Mullen hit a long range one as well in the first half. I thought Emma Doherty was really impressive. Niamh Farley got up well for her first goal at a header at the back post, but I thought the ball from Emma Doherty really created that opportunity. But I thought Farley did very, very well. Probably should have had a second a couple of moments later. Will be disappointed not to have got that on target when that ball came in from the right hand side as well.
Give me your opinion on the first goal from Cork.
The first goal from Cork was Nicole long range free came in. Nicole Nix went to punch it, or she kind of flapped at it a little bit. She'll be disappointed when she looks back.
It looked to me when I look at it, and when I watch them later on in the game, it looked as though there was a bit of a difficult breeze that sort of caught her out a bit. But the other side of it for me is, while Nix probably won't be happy with what happens there, like the defender who let Cork get the ball straight across back into the box, I think
a
little bit of sleep.
To go back to Nix, I think as a goalkeeper, you're always told don't knock the ball straight back out to the attacking player, and she did that excellently. The ball went out along the sideline. 9 times out of 10 that goes out for a corner based on what happened previously, but just she was very unlucky. I can't remember which player it was out wide on the right, and she just knocks the ball straight across the line, and it was basically just a touch in for Cork at the far end. I think it was Zoe Finnerty.
But the other thing for me there is, I think it was Lauren Holman who put the ball back across. But the thing for me in that situation is, it's very easy for Nix to nearly get complicated and potentially even tried to catch that ball and carry that ball straight back over her own goal line. And that was the one thing that
I would have preferred to see her catch the ball, if I'm honest. I think she was unopposed, more or less was pressure coming on her, but she should have been able to catch the ball in that instance, or a decent punch that clears the ball. There just wasn't enough power on the contact, and that resulted in the goal. But like, there's a couple of mess ups there, but that's something for Phil Trill to kind of look at defensively. Won't be happy.
The reason why I highlight this sort of the goal itself is because we've seen a couple of things like that from Galway this year, where they've conceded goals from these sloppy sort of positions where a ball comes into the box or even a corner, and they're not fully in tune with things, and that sort of cost them in some big moments. Like, you look at the Athlone game in particular is the one that we analysed that one quite a lot. But I do think the response from them was quite good. When Farley was.
Yeah, Farley gets that header to equalise before half time. Had the opportunity to double their score, didn't take it after some good work.
I'm just watching the goal back, Farley's goal back, and just as the ball just before the ball comes in, Farley's got her arm on the defender as the two of them are running towards that box, just creating that half a yard to give herself an opportunity instead of having the defender tied to her hip. I think it's smart. It's a clever.
But it's an experienced move. She starts a yard to the right of a goal side of Finnerty, and Finnerty cuts across her, but Farley reads the ball better and moves to the left and ends up kind of half a foot behind her, and wins the header. Very little Finnerty can do once she's stepped the wrong side of the defender. It's what you're told to do, get goal side, but Farley just read it really, really well.
Yeah, and the chance, as you say, she missed. Like, I'm just watching back to just before the second Galway goal. There was a ball into the box, and you can just see the wind just sort of taking the ball. That's why I asked the question in relation to into Nick's. But the goal for me, Ava Mullen, she does well to dispossess the ball, just looks up and sees the keeper up her line. Boom, pop. Thank you.
I think that's the advantage of that wind that was obviously into the face of the attack, and it benefited Cork in the first half, but Galway really took advantage of it. The strike from Mullins, but 25 yards out, just really gave the keeper no chance. Although the keeper probably got closer to that one than to the last one. I think she'd given up at that stage just because she knew she'd been beaten or was badly positioned at the start. Let's talk about the penalty for Cork, which got them level. Because for me, I think we have a case here where two wrongs made a right. I don't think the foul that was given as a penalty was a penalty, but I think the interaction immediately before that should have been given as a penalty. So we got the right result.
I'm watching it back here again because I watched this earlier. I just have it on full screen watching it here. I think the second one, she feels a little bit of contact and goes down, but there's absolutely no doubt in my mind. The first one is
absolutely
is blatant, and young Ellie O'Brien is.
Very cool. Finish from the penalty. Yeah. Let's talk about Jodie Griffin comes on, and again, we see a sub making an impact almost immediately. Within 60 seconds, has the ball in the back of the net. I'm not.
Do you know what I found out hilarious? I found hilarious when you see the highlights of this. They actually showed a substitution.
Yeah,
it was literally just before the corner. It's just before the corner happens, and it's again, it's Cork all over in the sense of set plays. The ball is just pushed back in, and she just hooks it into the back of the net from close range. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's every week I seem to be saying set plays in Cork City they're just not marrying up this year, and it's been a big headache for them. Like, as you think about that, if they defend that set play, you're two all still in this game. You know, you're not chasing. Yes, granted, Galway are having chances, and they continue to create chances even after they go 3-2 up, but it's an opportunity for them to potentially stay in that game. Like, and the last goal comes very late, even after Cork have just had a chance themselves that they put wide. So, like, Cork had chances, and realistically, could Cork have probably nicked the draw this game? Yeah, probably could have. If I'm Galway, there's two things. Yes, I'm really happy about the performance, in the sense of winning 4-2. But it's the second game in a row where they've managed to get Lindsay McKee back on the pitch, coming off the bench. To me, experience is key in that situation.
Well, But you look at the players.
Lindsay's.
You look at the players that came on for Galway at the weekend. Like the experience on that bench, you got Lindsay McKee, you've got Aislinn Meaney in there as well. Amanda Smith didn't feature off the bench.
No.
Keola Bergen also didn't feature off the bench. And is it Emily Fitzgerald is scoring goals for fun in the underage? Was it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, got 27 hat tricks in a row or something. Like she didn't quite get that, but it's in that ballpark. It's like 5 or 6 games where she got a hat trick on the bounce. So there's plenty of talent coming through with both experience and young players coming into the game, and the depth of that Galway United squad is impressive. Now, will they have a title challenge this year? They'll need to beat both Athlone and Shells when they play them in the second round of games to have even a sniff of a chance of that happening. And even then, it's probably not within their control if Athlone and Shells manage to beat each other and collect 3 points each or whatever it might be over the course of the next few weeks. But Galway, can they get back into that title race, or is it just a little bit too far?
It's difficult, but then again, the league table is slightly distorted, as people say, because of the fact that the game's in hand. But like, they're still 9 points behind Athlone, 8 points behind Shells, played the same amount of games. Realistically, probably no. I think if they finish third, can they win an FAI Cup this year? Potentially, that has to be the aim. Try to defend their All Ireland Cup. It's gonna be it'll be difficult for them to get back into title contention. I think just having dropped points in 4 games or 4 out of 9 games, I just think it's going to be too far, too big of a gap, because you're looking like shit. That means you're expecting Shells and Athlone to drop points in at least another 3 games.
They do have to play each other on that front.
Yeah, but I'm still convinced that, and I said this to you 2 weeks ago, that I think the only time that Athlone and Shells will drop points, I'm still convinced it's going to be against each other.
But if they draw twice, that's 4 points dropped each out of those games. So all of a sudden,
but then the other question then I'd say to you then is, can Galway go and beat every team in the league? I'm not convinced.
They have the ability, but whether they'll do it or not is a different thing.
I think Wexford have the ability to beat everybody. I think Shamrock Rovers have the ability to beat everybody. Treaty and Peamount on their day have the ability to beat everybody in the league. I just think that the top 2 are probably a little bit ahead, and I would expect the top 2 to potentially go and strengthen even more in the window, considering Athlone of Champions League. Shelbourne will want to make sure that they win that league. I'd expect them to strengthen again.
The good news is for everyone down in DC Park, once Aaron has predicted you can't do something, you're probably likely to go and do exactly that based on his current prediction form.
Hold on a second. Right? I predicted at the start of the season that Wexford would finish third this year.
You did?
Remember that?
Early days yet. It's early days yet.
I still think
they're looking good. I have a little teaser for you. Now, I did warn you that I had a little bit of a teaser for you. I'm going to pose you a bit of a question, right? And it's about who is the most... now, this is based on the stats that we've gathered since 2020. So it's all in the last 5-6 seasons. Who is the most lethal goal scorer in the league? And by that, I mean, who has the best goals per 90 minutes on the pitch? Now, let me explain it before you kind of jump in, right? I have eliminated anyone who's only scored 1 goal, because we had about 8 or 10 players who've played like 2 minutes and scored a goal in injury time, and they've got 45 goals per 90 minutes played. So I've eliminated anyone.
So what's the minimum amount of games that they've played?
5. They have to have played 5. Okay. So now that eliminates probably of the list about half of the top 20, because there was loads of people with maybe 2 or 3 games who'd scored a goal and only played 2 or 3.
It's only since 2020.
Only since 2020. Can you name how many of the top? I'll give you 3 minutes to name as many as the top 20 as you possibly can.
Dana Sheriff.
I won't punish you for wrong answers.
Dana Sheriff.
Dana Sheriff is number 13 on the list. 0.68 goals per game. Kate Mooney is not. Oh, she is 10th on the list. 0.81. Don't be Googling anything. Don't be Googling anything.
I'm not. I tell you what I'll do. for the purpose.
5 of the top 10 are current players this season.
So what I'll do is for the current thing, for the purpose of this, I was going to open my notepad, but I won't. Okay. So I've got Dana Sheriff, Kate Mooney, Ella Molloy.
Ella Molloy is on the list. She's 18th, 0.58 goals per match, per 90 minutes.
Casey Howe.
Casey Howe is actually not on the list, not in the top 20 on the list. Let me have a little look and see where she appears.
Emma Doherty, I don't think
Casey
Emma Doherty.
Casey Howe is 45 on the list.
Emma Doherty mightn't make the list. I think Emma Doherty could be about 25th.
No, she's below that. Emma Doherty's 37th on the list.
Let me have a look here. Played at least 5 games. Maddie Gibson.
Maddie Gibson is... Where is Maddie Gibson? And let me check her. She is 34th on the list, 0.44 goals per 90 minutes.
Kayla Bergen wouldn't be there. Emily Corbett wouldn't be. I don't think Corbett is in the top 20.
Are you sure?
Okay. Corbett could be 19th.
She's 16th, 0.59.
Okay. Bella Flacchini.
Bella Flacchini is 21st, but I'll give you credit for that.
Okay.
0.53.
Just trying to think team-wise.
You've only got one of the top 10. You've only got one of the top 10. Ellen Dolan is 19th, just scrapes in 0.58 goals per.
Well, the obvious ones are that I'm not sure Stephanie Zamber is going to be in there.
15th, 0.6.
Okay. What that means Anya Gorman is going to be in there.
0.67. She's 14th, one spot ahead of Stephanie.
Mackenzie Anthony.
Top of the pile. 8 goals, 8 games, 1.
Kelly Brady.
Kelly Brady's 4th, 0.9. There's 2 other players with greater than 1.
Greater than 1.
Yeah. One of them is current. Actually, they're both current. And I think I'd be amazed if you get one.
Oh, my great. And they both played more than 5 games.
Yeah. In fact, I'm actually questioning one of them myself as I see it, but I think she's played. One of them played a really short spell, scored a load of goals, 1 player of the month. That's a clue. And the other one is a super sub. 24 appearances, only 5 goals, but more than 1 goal per 90 minutes played.
I don't think Rebecca Cook falls under that mantra.
No, Rebecca Cook is 47th, 0.38. She's 2 places behind Casey Howe and separated by Avril Brearley, who's on 46th on the list.
You really got me stumped here.
Okay, I'm going to start giving you some hints. Number 9 on the list. Number 10 is Kate Mooney. Number 9 on the list, former Shells and Peamount player, currently abroad. Family well in with Peamount. Has 19 goals and 25 appearances since 2020 in the league.
Is Eleanor on this list?
She is 9th. That's exactly who I was describing. 8th was a brief stint.
She didn't play the Shelburne.
Sorry, apologies. I mixed her up with somebody else.
DLR Waves. Usually Waves she would have been with.
The next one is, I think, American. Short stint.
Jessie Stable to be on this list.
She's not in the top 25. She's 49th.
Okay. Gillian O'Toole, I don't think is top 20.
She's 164th.
Madison McGrath isn't top 20.
48th. 3.38. One goal in every 3 games, effectively. Slightly higher. No, I'm going to focus you down on the top 10 because you haven't got many of them. You've got the first one, Mackenzie Anthony. You've got Kelly Brady, you said as well, 4th place on the list. 9th, Eleanor Ryan Doyle, and 10th, Kate Mooney. We're going to keep with the Shells viewpoint at the moment. An American player came to score 3 goals in 11 games, but averaged 0.83 per 90 minutes played.
Right up top.
Yep.
Wasn't your one real?
No.
Go on, tell me this one.
It's Gloria Douglas. The
reason that way I didn't say her. Because her second spell wasn't as good as her
only
first
3
spell.
goals only 3 goals in 11 games, but
her first spell with Shelbourne was electric.
Yeah. Next one is a Shells player. Saoirse Noonan not on the list, 20th on the list. Current player at Shelbourne, youngster, has 6 goals in 22 appearances.
Rebecca Deverill.
Yep, 7th on the list. Athlone Town forward.
See, I was looking at this completely wrong because I'm more thinking minutes per game, whereas a lot of them I'm thinking less minutes.
One of them's going to really surprise you. Number 3 is going to really surprise you. 6th on the list is a big player for Athlone last season. Foreign import, came in, scored a lot of goals. Don't know.
Brenda Tabby.
Yep, Brenda Tabby with 7 goals in 9 games, 0.88 goals per 90 minutes. The next one, I'm actually at a loss. I think it's a Shells player, but I apologize. Oh, sorry. What name did you say earlier? Did you say Morgan Rees?
No.
Well, I've just given you number 5.
Interesting.
Yeah, 3 goals in 7 games. But a lot of sub appearances there. Kelly Brady, you have the 2 you haven't got are 2nd and 3rd. We'll go with 3rd one first, and she is super sub at Athlone. Current player, 24 appearances, and averages 1.05 goals per 90 minutes.
Hazel Donegan.
Yes, absolutely spot on. And then the final one, GA superstar, Aussie Rules superstar, not Sarah Rowe. No, not Sarah Rowe. I knew you'd go there. Galway.
Rachel Kearns.
Rachel Kearns, yeah, is 2nd on the list. Very interesting list. It goes the whole way down. The number of people who fit the criteria, more than 5 games, and scored more than 1 goal.
I think you should publish this on Final Whistle for people to actually go and have a look at, because I think it's very interesting.
I have a question for you. I might do just that. I have one question for you. Who's the bottom of the list? Can you name anybody in the bottom 8 or 10? And I'll give you a clue. They're nearly all defenders. They've scored twice, and they've played like almost 100 games. So there's a couple of names in there. Can you guess anybody very quickly? Because this is not as interesting as I thought it was going to be.
Someone like an Orla Conlon.
Orla Conlon is 180th. She's outside the bottom 20. She has 6 goals to her credit. Think less prolific.
Lisa Murphy would have goals. Defender. Jess Gleason has some goals.
Jess Gleason is 191. She's just outside the bottom 10.
Roisin McGovern she's got a goal, and if you're counting your stats, she's probably about the top 50.
She'd need 2 goals though.
Sarah Power?
No,
hasn't played enough games.
I really shouldn't name and shame, but there's a few players in here you'd be surprised by. Trace Kenneby.
Trace Kenneby
has 2 goals in 98 appearances, and Rachel Graham has 2 goals in 99 appearances. There's a couple of other players in there of note. Lauren O'Callaghan, 3 goals in her 99 appearances. Lynn Craven, 2 in 80. Fiona Owens, who scored recently, she has 2 in 56. One that might surprise you.
No, that Fiona Owens was going to annoy me now, because I actually went and said that it was only a 2nd senior goal when she scored against Shamrock Rovers.
One that might surprise you. I think I will publish this because it's a bit of fun. Aoife Kelly, 57 appearances, 2 goals.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Now, just a word reminding the people, these are only stats since 2020. Anybody, so if you're looking at players like Rachel Graham, has over 200 odd appearances in the league over the course of the years. Only to 2020.
Yeah, and she probably has more goals. That is a fair point.
I'd say she's definitely single digits.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can find a figure here for her, but she's definitely has more goals and probably has a better strike rate than that over her career. But she just doesn't have them as it stands at the moment. If I can quickly find Rachel Graham here on the list. What stats has she got? No, it's not very well laid out. There's not a whole pile of goals in there, but there are a few more. Going back as far as 18-19, there was a goal in that season. There was a goal in 1920, and those results are not included in our calculation. There have been 4 or 5 goals in the last 7 or 8 years. That's all I have results available for at the moment. But listen, a bit of fun. We will publish the list online. But maybe before we do that, if you're watching the show and you've got this far, thanks for sticking with us. And maybe put your guess of who the most prolific goal scorers are, and maybe where you think you feature yourself if you're involved in the league. I just had a bit of fun putting that together during the week, and I thought it might.
Now, the one thing I will say to the listeners is, I don't get this information beforehand. It's not as if it's literally he texts me. It was yesterday, the day before we were talking, and he says to me, "I have something for you this week," and it's like there's no if buts or maybe. So even I can go. There's no warning, no research. So it's always one of these that it's like you have to go and guess. It really makes you think. And like the one thing I wasn't thinking about is when you say players, I'm sorry thinking, okay, some of the players you've mentioned, I'm like, oh, she's played 20 odd games. But I'm not thinking minutes per game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Goals per
You
night.
did mention Sarah Rowe. Her name just popped up here. 0.29 goals per appearance in her 14 games. Again, purely in the last 5 years. So anything to do with Castlebar not included in that. She's level with Gillian Keenan, Gemma McGuinness, Ciara Fitzpatrick, and Katie Sullivan, and Megan Smith-Lynch in there as well. 0.28. Interesting things. We will be adding all this to Final Whistle over the course of the next few weeks, and we do have a new app coming out for the second half of the season, probably in August, September, with all this information coming out on it. We did also have exciting news in the last 7 days with Final Whistle itself. We've launched a women's GAA podcast. So if you're into ladies Gaelic football and you're interested in kind of keeping track of that as well, we have All-Ireland champions, current All-Ireland champions, Claire Owens of Leitrim, who won the intermediate championship last year, and Joanne Doonan of Fermanagh, who won the junior championship last year, having a look at all things ladies Gaelic football, dissecting all the action in the championship, as well as their own experiences over the course of the weekend. They're joining Diarmuid Carney of this parish to talk about all things LGFA. You can get that on all our platforms as well. Search for an Apple Podcast or Spotify.
I love that. It's a down Leitrim and a Kerry man.
Well, we went rural.
Such a dynamic.
She's Doonan, but she's Fermanagh. Did I say down? Apologies.
Sorry,
if I said down, apologies. But
like yeah, you're going for Fermanagh, Leitrim, and Kerry. Like couldn't get any more diverse.
And because
they more different in accents.
Yeah, but because they won the championships last year, they're actually playing in different grades. So they cover all 3 grades of the inter-county game, and we're not just focused on 1 or 2 of the big names. We're looking at the whole country on that, same as we do on the show here. Aaron, that's it for this week. Pretty much ran out of time in terms of everything we've been chatting about.
Just before we do go, a quick 30 seconds or 60 seconds, even run through, just to remind people what
the fixtures. There are games this weekend, of course.
Would you like me to do it?
I got distracted by statistics. I'm a bit of a nerd like that. I have it here in front of me, so we can easily go through the actual games for this weekend. If I just click the button. So this weekend's games, we have actually we didn't even look at the league table, so let me bring that up first. If I go in here, that's not the wrong, that's the list. I don't know what I've done with the league table. Let me go find it here. There we go. So this is the league table after last weekend's round of games. Athlone top as they were last week with their game called off. Wexford, the big winners of the weekend, they move up to within 6 points of the league leaders, but they do have that extra game played. Shamrock Rovers, Galway United, with their win, have leapfrogged a couple of teams down there. They go up to 4th place. Phil Trill and his crew will be happy with that. Rovers, Treaty United, and Peamount currently 5th, 6th, and 7th, with Bohemians 3 points behind them on 10 points. Cork City, Waterford, Sligo Rovers, and DLR on a little ladder there, 7 points, 6 points, 5 points, and 4 as DLR get their first win of the season and step up not off the bottom of the table, but back in contention with the teams around them. Waterford, of course, with 2 games more to play at the bottom of the table. They'll be happy enough with how their first half of the season has panned out as well. Let's go back here. And then the fixtures, of course, for this weekend. We have Bohemians against Treaty United at 3 o'clock in Dalymount Park. Sligo Rovers, they play Shells at 3 o'clock in the Showgrounds. Waterford and Galway, they'll do battle also at 3 in the RSC. Shamrock Rovers and Cork City will meet at Tala Stadium at 5 o'clock, while Wexford and DLR, both fresh from wins this weekend. Nice to be able to say that about DLR. They would meet at 6 o'clock, while the late kickoff, another 2 sides who have league title experience in the last couple of seasons, Athlone Town versus Peamount. The last game of the weekend, Peamount's opportunity to get themselves back in the reckoning there. Your thoughts on games? Where are you likely to have your focus on Saturday?
I'm working the weekend, but the one game I will be stuck to, I would have loved to get the Bows and Treaty just to see McGrath and Fletchini. I think probably the game of the weekend is probably the Athlone and Peamount game Saturday evening. There's a lot of games that you're sort of thinking could be a little bit of a, not necessarily one-sided, but you could sort of call the result of most of them. I think that the first and the last game are probably the 2 that have the most variance in them. But it's another exciting weekend. Hopefully somebody's going to shock us and, have me eating humble pie.
Yeah, absolutely. You like the taste of humble pie this weather. Just before we do catch up now, we have a bit of a chance to kind of take a breather with the games off this weekend. The top scorers in the league as we speak are Kelly Brady and Mackenzie Anthony. Didn't obviously do battle at the weekend. Flacini, Ella Molloy, and Kate Mooney on 7 points or 7 goals each, while Pearl Slattery, Emily Corbett, Madison Gibson, and Emma Doherty are on 5. All those details.
It's actually madness that Pearl Slattery is on 5 goals this season. It got to a stage that it was like every game Mackenzie Anthony scored in, she scored in, and I think she's been brilliant. I think she's been brilliant for Shells this year. But then in general, I think Shells going forward have been just sublime.
Let's take a quick look as we do at the Golden Glove competition. 2 players at the top there. Amanda McQuillan, 4 clean sheets for her at Shelburne this year, and the Athlone goalkeeper Maria Matau, 4 in her 5 appearances. Of course, she has shared goalkeeping duties with Megan Plashko. It's kind of similar to what we saw at Peamount a couple of years ago when we had 2 keepers.
Was it, or was it not one of them was injured?
Yeah, it was Megan. Who started the season? I think it was Megan Plashko started the season and lost her place, but now Matteo has taken that opportunity and has kept her place, even though Plashko has come back to the fold. But like they've only conceded twice all year, I think, in 2 games, so it's been impressive. Maria Sullivan, probably decent record for her there as well. 3 clean sheets in 10 games. But I find when one team isn't quite decided about who their keeper is, or maybe there's a keeper gains the role during the season, it does put a false economy on it. Like Athlone have had 7 clean sheets in 9 games, and they should, in theory, be top of this list. But because it
can also have a massive impact in terms of consistency of performances as well, as we've seen in previous years gone by, and it doesn't work. And I'm sure if you asked Wexford United when they look back a couple of years ago when they were swapping between McAloon and Reid Burke the year they lost the league, could that have been a difference potentially? Both smashing goalkeepers, and it was just an era where they had 2 really, really, really good goalkeepers, and they were trying to keep both happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, that ultimately now, finally, is it for the week. And we'll be back chatting again next week, hopefully with a full round of 6 games to take a look at over this weekend. And of course, the FAI Cup comes into focus the following weekend. We'll be chatting all about that next week. Maybe having a look at some of the non-league teams that have been in the first round. You sigh already, Aaron. It's kind of one of those.
No, I don't. Listen. I just think the gap is massive with the non-league teams, but we're guaranteed one non-league team in the quarterfinal this year.
Absolutely. We'll be back next week. Talk to you then.